did it. I freaking did it. I passed all 4 of my CPA exams while working at a Big 4 full-time. Hi, my name is Grace and I am an auditor at a Big 4 company. And let me tell you, studying while working full-time sucks, but if you're doing it, I'm hoping this video will make it suck a little less. There are plenty of YouTube videos that show you how to pass in weeks and months, but I really took my time. To provide some context, I was one of those students in undergrad who would start studying 2 weeks before the exam date because I would get so anxious if I didn't know everything going into the exam. So there's no way I could have passed my exams if I studied it for just a few weeks. Over a year and a half, I studied for about 12 months. And if you didn't know, the CPA exam is changing in 2024. So here's the general timeline of how my exams went. A quick disclaimer is that these are things that work for me, so you're gonna have to figure out what works for you. First, I studied every day from 8 to 10 p.m. for about 2 hours on weekdays. And on weekends, I studied for about 5 to 7 hours for a total of 20 to 24 hours a week. Second, I had a realistic and detailed study plan. Here's an example of what my study schedule looked like, and I did about 1 to 2 Becker modules a day depending on the length of the module. Third, my ultimate goal during this time was to avoid burnout at all cost. I went back to therapy twice during this time because of stress and anxiety, but the answer was always the same. I plan on sharing what I learned in therapy in a different video, but in the context of this video, the key to avoid burning out is to practice self-care and self-compassion. In terms of self-care, I was super intentional about how I spent my time taking care of myself. An easy way I did this was to take what I already do every day, but just make it a self-care thing. For example, drinking water. I would make sure I would stay hydrated throughout the day. I made sure I was getting at least 7 hours of sleep and getting good nutrition. I also worked out for 30 minutes every evening between working and studying, which really helped me create that mental barrier between work and study. After I finished studying at 10 o'clock, sometimes I would do a face mask before I go to bed. A question you want to ask yourself is, what are some things that genuinely make me happy? For me, it's food and singing. I sang a lot during this time, especially in the shower, in the car. On weekends, I would make sure I go get some good meal. And I would meet friends for about 2 to 3 hours a day to charge my social battery. And then when I come back home, I'm in a better mood to study. I also love watching the sunset, so I would just step out, watch the sunset, come back, and continue studying. And I learned that taking 5 deep breaths, especially when you're stressed or anxious, really helped. Self-compassion means that you allow yourself to take breaks without feeling guilty because we're not designed to study 10 to 12 hours a day, which is what I used to believe. It's also not beating yourself up if you're not meeting study goals. While it's easy to put a lot of pressure on ourselves, I think it's more beneficial to spend your time and energy thinking about, why was I not able to meet my study goals for today? Do I need to revise my study plan? And what can I do differently next time to have a more effective study session? Take care of yourself, be nice to yourself, and please don't burn out. Fourth is to let your friends, family, and social circles know that you are studying for a big exam. Set expectations that you won't be as available and you might have to miss out on some events. And ask them for moral support if they can provide. I asked my friends to remind me to take breaks and take care of myself. They encouraged me when I wanted to give up so badly, and we celebrated together. I could not have done it without my friends and family support. Fifth is to get a study buddy. After work at 5, 6 p.m., the last thing you want to do is study. I reached out to a coworker who I interned with, and we ended up studying almost every night together. We would get on a call, complain for a minute or two, mute, and then study. At one point, I posted on the Becker study group on Facebook to find someone to study tax intensively with. I met this woman online in the same time zone and we studied together for about 3 weeks. There are so many ways to find study buddies, but the key is to find someone who is as committed as you are. Sixth, do the practice problems. Everyone I talked to get tips on passing, they all said to just do the practice problems. And I read somewhere a long time ago that the way top students prep for their exam is just by doing hella practice problems. So when you get to the review stage, just do a lot of them. Seventh, if your exam has multiple parts like the CPA exam, you want to figure out if you want to study from the hardest to easiest or the easiest to hardest section. And actually there is no such thing as easiest section on the CPA, it's just what are you most familiar with and what are you not. Personally, I did the hardest to easiest because I knew I was going to get something like senioritis, which is exactly what happened to me. Towards the end, I slacked off on studying, I failed it, and then I had to retake it. But I would have had it that way than having the last exam be the hardest one because I don't think I could. Eighth, ask your teams how they can accommodate your exam schedules. I know some people that took a week or 2 off before the exam to really focus on it, but I took a day or 2 off before the exam. That's because I didn't want to study for more than 6 to 8 hours a day for these exams. Another suggestion is on the week of your exam, ask for a 4 to 5 hour workday and then you can study for the next 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Ninth, figure out with your teams which weekends to avoid scheduling exams. Ideally, you want to avoid quarterly filings and definitely busy season. Also, don't study during busy season. You don't need additional damage to your mental health. This isn't necessarily a tip, but something I want to tell you. I think that there is some kind of curve to these exams. I can't remember who said it, but someone said that if you walk out of the exam feeling like, wow, that was great, you failed it. But if you walk out from the exam feeling like, oh my gosh, that was really difficult, then you passed. And that was the case for me. The first 3 exams I passed on the first try, I walked out feeling like I wouldn't be surprised if I got a 74. The last exam I failed, I walked out feeling like, oh my gosh, that wasn't so bad. And then I got a 71. But the second time I took it, I walked out feeling like, what do I do if I should retake this for the 3rd time? And then I passed. Anyway, those are the tips on how I passed my CPA exams while working at a Big 4 full-time. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. Otherwise, good luck studying. Bye!